Let's do this.
So, if I'm reading this right, the proper procedures for a breach and enter is to horribly slaughter everybody you come across. I'm perfectly fine with that. Should your troops die because you don't want to take the effort to actually make them stop moving forward, then don't worry, because all you have to do to counter that is simply taser somebody and arrest them. Then all is good in the realm of balance.
Stay here. Suspect secured.
Good job. We're done here.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am SocioPsycho, and today we are going to look at Door Kickers. This was created by Keel House Games, available on PC, Mac, and Linux. It is a top-down tactical turn-based availability SWAT style game. Now, most of the SWAT style games is where you go into a house and you clean out the bad guys from a first-person view. And while we haven't seen one of those in a while, this holds the same concept as those games, just from a top-down view. So let's go in and see exactly how well it is actually done. And we're going to start off with your options. Now, in the options menu, it's very basic. You do have different sliders for sound, as the music really helps propel an atmosphere of high-paced combat or suspense as you progress through different missions. But when it comes to graphic fidelity, the game is very basic. Yes, you do have a large variation of screen resolutions, which is definitely appreciated, but there's not anything really in-depth here when it goes to the graphics, because while the game may run perfectly fine and look very acceptable, it is graphically basic. It has been running at 60 frames per second with no tearing, clipping, or crashing. I have not had any issues on the performance side at all. It is unfortunate though to see that the key rebindings, I was not able to rebind the keys. A little bit annoying, but the game is very basic in its simplicity, and you move with a mouse, not the keyboard, so in that regard, but still would have still liked to see rebindable keys. Now, when we come out here, the main concern that people would have is content. And there is a oodles amount of content available. You do have the capability for mods. Now, mods will not just be different missions or mission parameters by Keel House Games, but it also has a Steam workshop, as you can see here in the corner. That means that new missions, new levels can be player generated and created, and so you can have a large variable of continuational missions depending on what you enjoy from the workshop. Very easy to get to, very easy and nice to see where they have that incorporated, and very easy to actually create a mission. For when we go into the editor, you can actually see that the layout of the level design of how you can create a mission is very simplistic. It's nice that they have incorporated this into the game to help fuel the game's longevity by giving the tools to the community. That's really appreciated. It's not something you see very often, and not something perhaps you'd expect from a lower scale game like this, but it is something that we definitely do appreciate. So content, you have abundance of content. And in the single mission, now there's a difference in between the single mission and the campaign. In the select mission, you have up to 78 different missions. Now these missions are split up not only by the difference in the level design, but also of the characteristics of that mission. As you can see on these top corners of these maps, they have a different image. This could either be you need to kill a certain somebody or rescue a hostage. You have to rescue a hostage who will be shot if the enemies become aware that you're breaching the building, so you need to add more of a stealth element during your progression. Or perhaps there's a bomb which needs to be defused, so that mission you need to get in there as fast as possible, defuse the bomb. The fact that there is a lot of variation in replayability is definitely nice to see. And it goes on beyond that because the game does have a star system. It has a star system and a extra challenge system on the side. So as you can see in the top, we have 3 stars. Now the 3 stars are going to be organized by how fast did you complete the mission, did you manage to complete it on the par time that is selected. So if a mission says, hey, if you want 3 stars, you have to beat 29 seconds in this mission. Then you get the star for the time. Don't lose anybody on your team. Complete the mission. Challenges are separate. Challenges offer a replayability option or a challenge option. Either use only one trooper to clean out the entire building, or complete the mission without pausing, meaning you have to do it in real time, or use a single plan to complete the mission. Now those will make a little bit more sense to you as we talk about the combat later on. But right now we're still talking about content, and to show you that there is a large variable of content in this game. You also have the mission generator, which is basically the same as random skirmisher. I mean, it pretty much sizes up for itself. You can pick which size map that you wish and the opposition strength, and you can play on a randomly generated mission. Now, the way the layout in the house will resemble things that you have seen in the past, but they will have different characteristics to a point. And then you can see your downloads and creations. It's very simplistic. Now, as I said in the beginning, the difference between a single mission and a campaign is actually quite varied. You would expect by the tradition you to do the campaign first and then hop into different single missions, but it's actually the other way around. When you go into one of these campaign missions, as you can see, there is a story. I mean, it's a campaign. So you need to progress and complete all these stories with the troops that you see on the top right corner. Now, as you can see, there is one of my troops which has been eliminated. He's in red. He has been killed. When you progress through the story and you have somebody who dies, you will continue to lose your people until you either win or fail in the campaign. So if you have a majority of your SWAT team killed, that doesn't go away outside a campaign. So you need to finish up either by winning or losing the campaign, otherwise it will affect your other single style missions. It's nice that they have this failure state in the campaign where it says, well, if one of your guys dies, he's dead. What do you expect from us? But once the campaign is either won or lost, they allow the door to be open again. And that's really nice that it has that failure state, but also has that try again state as well. So I am appreciative that they have that. So as you can see, the amount of content they have is quite large. So if you enjoy the game, you're going to get your money's worth out of playing it. Now we're going to jump into one of the very basic missions first, so I can describe to you the different movement paths before we actually get into the combat itself. So when we start here, you can see that it is a top-down view. You have on the top your entire squad of SWAT. You have the availability right here on this map to place 4 troops down. This first screen is the deploy mode. You can change out easily who you want to bring into the battle. It's very simplistic in that fashion. Right now we have a front guy with a shield, an iron shield, and a handgun, followed by a assault rifle, and over here we have another assault rifle and a shotgun breacher. So I'll put the shotgun first, and this is the deploy mode. So once you are set and you say, okay, these orange line strips are where I can place my troops, understood. Now we go into the tactical first movement. The game does have a time system tied into it. It has a par system. If you beat the level at a certain amount of time, you get 1 extra star. Now you can do this 2 ways. You can try or attempt to do it all in one single motion, or you can pause as you play out through the game. You first select your character and you can drag and move them. It's very simplistic. The nice thing is if I stop and I click on this guy and say, okay, I want you to go up into this house here and then maybe over here. Now all I have to do to come back is just click on this guy, go bring it right back up. And as you can see, the control option that the game has is very simplistic and it's very easy to handle. Now you would think that the first problem of the game would be the fact that, well, okay, how is this then an actual challenge? If all I'm really doing is dragging the movement of a path, finding obligation, won't that just mean that it really has no combat sense and I'm just stuck with trying to find the best route, and it is a Pathfinder game, not an actual tactical turn-based strategy? And there's 2 different options to combat that. The first is the fact that the enemy does randomize as you progress through the game. Not all enemies in all locations, and the enemies that you do face will increase in number and become a real drastic, so you may need to actually pause the game as you progress. But in my experience, a good about 80% of the maps, enemies will randomize their location or patrol methods on a variation. Because this happens, you can't just go in and expect one pathway to work every single time. And very rarely is that exactly the case. You may have to replay a mission 4 or 5 times on the same path route for your troops to be completely successful in order for them to get through it. If you're looking for that one challenge which says, do not pause the game and only have one route going. So as you can see, we've done our little layout of the map, we've seen exactly where our troops can go, and now we can unpause it, very simplistic, and they will go out and they will handle that. Now as you can see in the south, it didn't go over so well, and that was because the pathing system wasn't created all that well. So the first time through, it was a failure. Now, say we want to restart. The nice thing about the restart capability is the fact that the pathways don't disappear unless you actually exit the entire mission and go back to the mission select screen. So I can make corrections as I see fit. So I can move this guy down. No, let's move him down, straight down, and then we'll move him up and over, and we'll make a few corrections. And this time, we'll see how well it goes over. As you can see, the combat that's happening is different in each time. The fact that the first time the guy popped through this door here almost immediately made it so that because he held off this time, it didn't work out so well. Now as you see here, people have died in this mission, and that's not really a horrible thing. Yes, they have fallen, but we're at the same time not using the pause, tactical, or stealth elements of the game that we actually could. Let us go back in and see how we could make it perhaps a little bit different. Mission completed screen, very simplistic. As you can see, we lost a SWAT casualty, so we don't get 3 stars. Hostiles, what we can expect, a 9, and the XP. There is a level up system, and we'll get into that because it goes into gear and everything else in a moment, but let's continue with the understanding of the troops. So, say I want to manually control the exact combat of what's going on, and we have the availability to right click on our unit. Now he has a shield, so he doesn't really have anything all that amazing, but here we have a flashbang. So let's go through a little bit more careful this time, and we're going to do micromanagement by pausing, and let's use a flash grenade. Throw a flash grenade right on in there. Now we will move our troops right on in, and you can see that we have a much greater control of the battlefield now that we're doing this a bit more strategic. He does have a shield, but it doesn't mean just because he has a shield that he's incapable of taking damage. He is injured, as you can see, and because he's injured, he has a possibility of still dying. But there is a tactical element to the actual game, and there is a trade-off. So this time, we didn't meet the par time, and because of that, we didn't get 3 stars. So it's all about how fast you want to go through and how secure you are in the abilities and the knowledge of the troops. The enemies do randomize to a point. They're not going to randomize crazily, but it randomizes enough to a point where it's not a question of just trying to find the perfect pathing. There is a strategic and turn-based element style to the game, which is incorporated quite well. Now this plays off of the fact that in the game, you do have a skill set system and gear set system. First, we're going to talk about the skills. You do have these doctrine points, which you gain by increasing your level. After each mission, you gain experience, and the entire team overall, as you can see, gets a level in the rank, the squad rank. Each level adds 1 doctrine point. Now the doctrine points pretty much just give a bonus to which skill you wish to apply them to. It can be your assault rifles, such as improved accuracy and recoil, or your handguns, which will improve your aim and quickness and reload time and damage output. It's up to you to decide where you want to put your points, but at the same time, it just comes down to the fact that there are so very few upgrade points, but you'll gain levels really easily that you will unlock all of these with no issue. So it's something that is a minor incentive rather than something that is either a mandatory or a in-depth skill system there. It's a passive buff versus training your troops. It makes sense in a fashion and it's like a reward tier rather than something that really drastically changes the playstyle of the entire game. Now also in your roster, you have in between the different units that you do take in battle. And as you can see, you can customize the name, which is really nice. You can customize the call sign as well. Minor things, but still enjoyable, as well as the portrait that you wish the player to have, that direct character. Now what matters in the skill set of the actual characters is that it goes by the ranking system, and the more they experience combat, you will gain an increase in their marksmanship, assault shooting, and field skills. As you can see, a perfect understanding of what this character has accomplished in their career time. So it also has an individual level of skill. Now in the roster, you have the availability in between 5 different styles of classes. You have the shield, which I've shown you. He pretty much hides behind a shield and it takes a lot of damage. There are different styles of shield, and as you can see, they have protection arc, area, and field of view. These different shields offer different stats on these different categories, depending on what sort of playstyle you perhaps want to go. And as you can see, there are stars next to the ones that I have not unlocked, and we have stars on the top right corner. As you complete the missions and that star system, you will gain stars and you can unlock gear. It's very easy to gain stars, and you don't need to worry about, oh, there's a grinding for stars. If you are playing this game and you're like, this is so much fun, you will get the stars that you need to upgrade your gear without feeling like you need to grind anything whatsoever. It is very well balanced, and it plays very well into the integration of the game. Now you do have a point man, which is pretty much just a handgun, and you can, as you can see, have different styles of handguns, including a silencer, in case you are looking for that more of a stealth element in the game. They have different weapons, which are very nice to see. The level of detail that was put into the amount of weapons you have is definitely appreciated, and it goes into the same thing. When we go to a Salter, you have a variety of different machine guns. These machine guns scale from many different variables, including the stopping power or accuracy, fire rate, reload, and maneuverability. The more pricey ones or better ones will definitely increase in one area and decrease in another, and will be worth different amount of stars as a trade-off within the weapon itself. But it also has a reward system for the more you play. Say, hey, the more I play, I get more stars, and now I can buy that weapon I want. And like I said, it's very fairly balanced. And you do the same thing with shotguns. Different shotguns, different abilities and traits. And with your stealth category, you have the exact same thing. More maneuverability on some of these, you can see. And the assault rifles, stealth rifles, and the point man all have silencer attachments to it, so you can have the availability to try to sneak in as you wish. But it goes on a little bit more than just that, because you also have the availability for a taser. So I'm sure there is some capability where if you go in with an entire team of shield people and tasers, you can try to take everybody out with a taser. So that would be entertaining. Now beyond that, you also have the availability, as you can see, to copy, paste, and set default. So if I want to copy this guy's layout, I simply hit copy, and I move over here to somebody who doesn't really have one. I say paste, and boom, same layout. Nice and easy to easily organize your team in the manner that you wish without having to micromanage every single little thing. And I appreciate that. Armor is the exact same thing as the others, as you can see, unlocked 20 stars, and different protections based on the different armor kits that you have available. And you can also see the mobility at the bottom. The heavier the armor, the less mobility the person is going to have, which means they'll be a little bit slower. Now you also have your utility pouch, which brings into play either different types of grenades, a breaching charge, a lockpick. So you have a couple different ways to actually get through a door. You can bring a battering ram, you can lock the door, or you can have a shotgun blow through the door. There are different variables upon how you want to play, and it does have some level of depth. So as you can see here, the dramatic hammer can take down doors with one hit. Bolt cutters open fences and gates, and your breaching kit. So there is a variable in between how you actually want to play. Do you want to go in full guns blazing, or do you want to try to be a little bit stealthy with a spy camera and a flashbang? The choice is really up to you and that is nice. The fact that there is such a large variable in the game to how you play makes it not feel linear at all. The very basic construct of a game, which is a line and point command system, was done very carefully so it would not be a, well, find the best route possible in order to succeed. Due to the possible randomization of the different troops, perhaps not all of the troops, but in a variable of what you're facing and where you're facing them. The first time I go into room 1, there are 2 guys with machine guns. Second time I go in, there's 1 guy with a pistol. There's still the count of total troops remaining the same on the map, but sometimes the location or the patrol route that they take will be different. Because this is the case, and the enemies react differently, give it enough of a random element that it doesn't feel repetitive and you're not safe in the comfort of saying, well, I can just do 1 line through here and then once I have that complete, I'm good to go. It comes down to a tactical style of game where if you wish to progress forward, you do need to be willing to pause the game in order to make your different commands and movements, or perhaps just have a guy hold in a hallway while another team searches rooms, that way the hallway is secure in case anybody comes out. There is a large variable in how the game actually plays, and one of the beautiful things about it is the fact that they have the replay availability. The fact that you can actually re-watch old videos that you have saved is very nice. So at the end of the day, the game is very just. It does have a small randomizational element to it, which helps propel the game as something fresh, even when you do the same maps over again. But at no time did I ever feel like my time was wasted or I wasn't making progress. The fact that the challenges of the game and the star system rating are on separate categories makes it so even if you're not a challenge maniac, you still get a sense of awe and you still get a sense of succession after you complete a mission. It does a very fine job of allowing the player to feel accomplished after you complete a mission, as well as the difficulty in the game does scale. And the larger and higher up you go into the game, the more dangerous the situations or the enemies become. The simple breach through 1 door and try to take out 6 guys will become less of a head bash first mentality and more of a, okay, well, how can I do this in a tactical sense where we'll actually survive? So as a tactical, turn-based strategy game in a SWAT mentality, it does it right. So if this is the style of game that you've been looking for, then I can easily recommend this game because I have not been able to find fault with it outside of some very basic scripting AI procedure movements, which I'm not even going to get into. So yes, I enjoyed my time playing this game, and it's nice to see a line movement style game that actually feels more of a tactical sense rather than a line sense. It takes the movement system of a line, but it's not defined by that. It's defined by its tactics and its strategy, not the movement. And that is very important, and they have done a good job at respecting the player's time and creating something of note. Thank you all for watching. For I've been SocioPsycho, and I'll see you next time.